Hello and welcome to another video report on the Zwift Racing League, brought to you each week by WTRL. This week, the Herd of Sacrificial Lambs take on race 6 of the current season. It is the Queen Stage, it's the Innsbruck KOM, and the Lambs are in it to finish off strong, so let's see how it went this week. Your Lambs roster for the week: Tatum Jewel, we got some video of him this week. Fraser Johnson, Elcho B Mold, we'll get some of Elcho's feed in here as well. Jonathan Reese, Nick Bowdett, and your narrator Brent Robinson. And a quick shout out to Fraser Johnson, who had a friend who had suffered a crash and was racing for him, and as you'll see, does a smashing job of it. Just some quick trigger warning notes on this video. One, in one of the jokes on the course description, I use a video clip that might be considered a bit graphic, so if you don't want to see some violent imagery, skip over that. And secondly, I include a audio clip from the race that has a bit of salty language, so if you don't want to hear any of that, probably skip past the sprint segment. Here is a look at the course profile for the race this week. So you can see that it starts with a large climb up the KOM, which takes about 20 minutes for me to do. Most of our guys are around that mark. I think Tatum gets it done in about 18 and change today. So there's KOM, fastest through, and first across the line points there. Then we're going to go back down across a part of the course at around 20 kilometers. There's a big steep ramp that is colloquially known as the leg snapper. After that, you will go through the sprint segment, where there is also, again, first across the line and fastest through points available, and then we finish it off around the 23-kilometer mark. There was not much action in the pack as we ride along here with Elcho to the start of the KOM. You'll see that essentially all the Lambs were in the pack as we started the KOM. So this is now Tatum on the right and my video feed on the left. You can see I'm still in the pack at this part, but you're going to see the split form here as the group. Tatum is certainly right in the lead, and Fraser there is in the green Tron, I believe, right behind him. Anyway, you'll see him go with. If you look in my feed on the left, you can see that Elcho is just in front of me. Jonathan is just a little bit behind me at this spot in the race, and this is, one of the steeper bits of this climb for sure. So kind of my objective was to stay in the group. Ideally I would have liked to stay in the group till I got to about 6.4 kilometers. I didn't think realistically I'd be able to keep up with the types of power that these guys are going to put out across, especially there's like some long, steep, grindy bits at the top. So you'll see that lead group with Tatum, and he's pretty much pushing the pace, is just sliding away from us here. And then if we fast forward here about a minute, you can see that the pack is really getting fine. I'm chasing, this is Nick and Elcho just in front of me, and Fraser and Tatum are right on the front of the pack as they're driving up this hill. So really, really strong riding by Tatum and Fraser to really push the pace on the group. And me, Nick, Elcho, and Jonathan are pretty much dropped from the lead group at this point, and we're trying to kind of reconsolidate if we can. But yeah, definitely the lead group is gone by this point. And this is now fast forwarding another kilometer or so up the road. We're in the middle of a steep, grindy bit of this climb, and I think this is where essentially the lead group on the climb breaks away. You'll see Tatum is riding third wheel here, and there's going to be a big surge, and you'll definitely see that the riders in behind just fall off the pace of this kind of lead group of 3 or 4 riders who really are smashing the heck out of this climb at this point. If you're curious how it is that Tatum got so fast for this race, this was his prep.
Let me see your war face.
Apparently, if you ride with the herd of platypus, this Chihuahua reference will be very meaningful to you. In behind Tatum, Elcho was doing a good steady climb. He was chasing these 2 Wahoo Lacole riders up the climb. And not too far after that, he catches them, rides right through them, and as you watch along here, he is going to be chasing the next rider up the road as well. And as we watch Elcho make that catch, we can just check in quickly with me and Jonathan. I'm pretty much solo, give or take, but you can see Jonathan has caught up with me. I'm led to believe afterwards that he was sort of using me as a pacer, which worked well, and you'll see later in this race that we had some good teamwork together for the rest of this race. So, you know, we're coming up, but certainly well behind. So now we're just a couple more minutes down the road, and you'll see that Elcho has caught up with Nick and a couple of these MDC riders, and a Keep rider, and you'll see Elcho hangs with that group, and Nick is just going to fall just a couple seconds off, but he hangs in there pretty tough. And then a couple more minutes down the road, we'll catch up with Tatum. You'll see they're in a group of 6, and that rider you saw just fall right off the back. He's getting dropped by these guys. There's a big hard push coming from these lead 2 riders who were certainly, from my review, pushing the pace and trying to attack. Tatum does a great job to stick with this lead group of 5 all the way to the finish of the KOM. So Tatum comes in 5th place. Certainly celebratory beers for Tatum. Amazing climb, well done. Back down the road, Jonathan and I had caught up to this Brignall guy. We'll be seeing a bit more of him later. I think he might have sat up a bit seeing us coming, but anyway, we made the catch. Yeah, and now I push because you'll see this Jones character in behind. He wants to, I could tell he was trying to catch our group too, so I was trying to keep him away. Now if we go back up the road, we can see that Elcho and Nick are just about to finish. So here's some well-earned Sacritort for them for some good climbing. Good job, fellas. And then as we watch Jonathan and I come through, you'll see that Brignall is still with us. We haven't caught the next 2 in front. More on that later, but let's take a look in at the results. Here is Tatum, 5th fastest across the line. Lots of Talent Fry guys in there, well done. As well as 5th fastest through the climb as well, so amazing job by Tatum. Quick educational note, I did not know that this crazy face thing is actually a real place that is actually close to where this is. Not right where it is in Zwift, but awfully close, so learn something new every day, people. Back to the racing, and here you can see that those 2 racers who had kind of gone off a little bit off the front at the top of the climb have now been caught up by Tatum and the other 2 racers that he was with. So nice bit of teamwork by those 3 racers to catch on with that group. And back down on the flats, so not too much to watch in the descent here. Elcho stayed solo. We were definitely making up time in Nick's group. That's me and Jonathan basically the top left. And in the bottom right, you've got Fraser. He is in the second group. There was that 5th rider got dropped off of Tatum's group and has fallen back to Fraser's group. So Fraser is in the second group at this point, and they're getting close to the leg snapper there. Back up the road, here is Tatum on the leg snapper. This guy in the black jersey had put a big surge in early, but Tatum responded well, holds in the group. I don't know how everyone else was feeling, but I gotta tell you, by the time I got to the leg snapper, I was tired, a little recovered from the descent, but still pretty whack. So good job of Tatum to hold the lead group. And this is now Eljo, who was solo on the leg snapper, which must really suck. And then behind, you'll see Jonathan and I have caught onto Nick's group. And Nick is just fading a bit on the leg snapper here. He'd gone super hard and fades off the back, but also the group with Jonathan and I, and certainly Brignall and Wilton, who are going hard, put time into Eljo here on the leg snapper. And here, it's a little bit of time travel. This is actually just before we were on the leg snapper. The Tatum was that far up the road. You'll see the sprint segment from the lead group. Certainly, Manzano from French Tech sends up for the sprint. We'll look at the sprint results at the end, but he finishes first in the sprint, but does not get the first fastest sprint for sure. And here is what the sprint looked like from Fraser's vantage point in the second group. Good effort by Fraser there, well done. And here's what the sprint segment looked like from my group's vantage point. I knew this Brignall guy was a good sprinter. He'd gotten a bunch of sprint points earlier in the series, so I knew he could go. So basically my objective was to do the best I could to stay as close to him, and I knew that would be a good time. And away we go. And you'll hear when my time comes up how I felt about it.
Fucking A!
Yeah, so I was pretty happy because I was showing third fastest sprint, but as we look at the results, you'll see that in fact this was the fifth fastest sprint as two people behind me on the road got in front of me, but I'm still pretty happy with that. And even better, Tatum and Fraser's sprints both landed up in the top 10 across the line, so they both scored points, combined 11 between the two of them, which really helps. As you'll see, we look at the final here as we turn to Tatum's finishing sprint. You can see the finish line just in the distance. Tatum's winding up here. Definitely he's gone off the front. He's given it all he's got for sure. Here comes the pack around the back. Boy, that line is close. Tatum's just smashing it. And third across the line. Well done by Tatum. Amazing race. Unbelievable. And now we're going to turn to Fraser's sprint finish. As he hammers away here, he ends up finishing in 5th place for the race. Great day by Fraser in memory of his friend who's injured. And now this is Eljo and me, and I've got Jonathan, and then Nick's a little bit behind Jonathan, but I get a bit cute with it. I should have gone with this Runga guy, but I didn't want to drag anyone up to Eljo, so I end up too far off the back as Brignall catches up to Eljo. So as we watch Eljo come into the final sprint finisher, we'll talk a little bit about the results. It was a good day for the Lambs. Tatum led the way, getting 50 points for us. Fraser with 31. Just amazing efforts to finish two guys in the top 5. Overall, third on the day, which is just a terrific result for us, I think, on this course. And then in terms of the overall table, it is 3rd place for the Lambs as we finish, I'll call it the regular season. Someone smarter than me can explain the playoffs. So really good racing, super fun team to race with, loved all of it, and yeah, good job Lambs to finish the season strong here. So we'll watch Eljo's finishing sprint, and then we'll turn over to my finishing sprint. You'll see how that goes. Ultimately, if I would have hung up with Eljo, I probably would have ended up in a little bit one more additional point, but it didn't matter in the final standings, so that's fine. Thanks to Mark John, who gave us the footage of Tatum and Fraser we watched today. Thanks to all my Lamb teammates. Thanks to Tatum for organizing this team, and thanks to everyone for watching. Enjoy your races, everybody.